Hi guys, I'm Athena and today we're going to be addressing a topic that has been frequently asked by you guys, and it's really just about how to talk to people that you have nothing in common with, who you don't know about. Basically the whole shebang.
Before I begin, thank you so much for your support!
And the reason why I didn't phrase it as, like how to interview someone who you have nothing in common with is because from all the DMs that I received from you guys, this isn't a problem that is limited to like doing interviews. This is a universal thing. Like we all have this anxiety or struggle with talking to someone else who we feel that we don't really have anything in common with, but we still have to sustain like a conversation with them. So this video will address 3 different tips that I feel, oh, my band-aid. We'll address 3 different tips that will help you ace talking to someone that you have nothing in common with. So, the first tip is going to be about aiming for collaboration. So, what I mean by that isn't that like you and someone else go together and create an album cover like this is our common ground. No, it's not like that. What I mean is that in every conversation, there are ways to foster a collaborative environment. So the reason why this is so important is because have you ever noticed that when you go into a conversation and when you have that fear, when that fear crosses your mind, like how am I going to sustain the conversation? How am I going to pick up on the conversational threads? How am I going to keep the conversation moving? You keep referring to yourself in first person when actually a conversation is about 2 different people. So I mean, like, it takes 2 hands to clap, right? So when it comes to a successful conversation, when it comes to continuing a sort of flow, it isn't just about you. But in order to really get rid of the fear that, the responsibility of maintaining that conversation is simply lying on your shoulders, it's through fostering that collaborative environment. And the funny thing is, whenever you have anxiety about talking to someone else who may be a stranger or who just, doesn't have anything in common with you from the get-go, that person is also going to have that sort of mindset. So the only way to get over that roadblock is to really let that other person know that you are open to their ideas and that you are going to contribute your own as a way to keep the convo going, that there is going to be some sort of give and take, push and pull in this entire conversational process. So one way in which we can create that collaborative environment is through body language. One thing that a lot of people will tell you, which is, undoubtedly true, is that when you do this, when you talk like this, or let's say you're on like a tabletop and then you put your hands like that, what you do is that you create a more closed off disposition and a more closed off front. I could be talking in a really nice way, but at the same time to a bystander, like this could seem like me instructing you to do something. Or when you're facing me and I'm doing this, like, that's really interesting. Like, it could seem more closed off, that I'm not willing to just be open and have that vulnerable space with you in this pocket of conversation. But this first tip doesn't just comprise of me telling you not to cross your damn arms. Basically, there's another way in which we can foster that collaborative environment through other physical cues. I think like in the past few videos, I've been emphasizing on this thing called back channeling, where what you do is that you sort of articulate, your assurance, your understanding, and your acknowledgement of someone else's contribution to the conversation. Let's say they give you like this, they share with you thing A, and you don't know a lot about thing A, but through back channeling, you can go like, oh, I see, that's really interesting. Really make sure that you engage with thing A even though you don't know what it is, and affirm that person for sharing it themselves. That encourages them to continue contributing to the conversation, and you don't have to maintain it all by yourself. So I've been in debate for around over 6 years, and one thing that we do is that, when we go up to speak, it's one person at a time. We have the floor, whether it be BP style or just, the normal classroom style, we go up, it's one person. But every single time, you'll have a team with you as well. And what we do is that when as a team member, right, when I see my teammate go up there, I know that anything that I do, like a really scary face expression or that's wrong kind of head shake, nothing will make their content seem better or seem worse, because at that point in time it's too late to give cues like this is the wrong point, or like go that way please, stop saying that. And you can even get carded for that on the debate floor. So instead, what my team and I used to do is we would always just nod and really just smile. So even though we were taking down points, when we know that our teammate's speaking, we would be like, Because I am more likely than not going to look at my teammate and look at them and see whether they're listening and use that as a benchmark as to whether the content that I'm giving on the floor is something that has substance in it, is something that is the right direction. And so what that does is that it really creates a more encouraging environment in which this person that's speaking on the floor feels a little bit more confident in what they're presenting, and it will show through their voice. So you can transfer that knowledge from, public speaking, debate arena, to really just having a sit down conversation or interview when someone else is talking about something that you really don't know anything about, but it's not your time yet to jump in and say, look, can I ask about what you've been talking about? What you can do is just always show physically that you're open to listening, you're open to sharing, and you're open to receiving more information from them. Not only that, but you really appreciate that they're here to do that with you. So do things like nodding and smiling to really ensure that this collaborative environment is truly one that is collaborative, where someone else doesn't feel that they have to tank this whole damn conversation and you don't feel the same way. Now that we've covered how to act and respond to someone else when you really don't know shit about a topic, now we're going to touch on how to attack the overall sort of way that you speak and what kind of verbal patterns you should use when you talk to someone who you really have nothing in common with. The second tip here really is about variation, and the idea is that in linguistics, what we study is that there are different mood choices. So there's the imperative, there's the declarative, and there are interrogatives. So the imperative is for, when in the workplace, someone tells you to do something, like please file this now or schedule this meeting. It's a command, there are even different levels about that, but we won't go into that today. However, the ones that we'll be varying between is really declaratives and interrogatives. Why? So I think in past videos, I've already highlighted the importance of giving affirmation verbally. So, doing back channeling, like, for example, you talk about thing A and I go like, oh, that's really interesting. I love how you described it. Just really acknowledging and affirming that the other person took the time to share this with you and shared it in a certain manner. You're really just affirming them. But realize that when it comes to a topic that you don't know about and you repeatedly affirm, what you're going to do is give off the impression that you're not really genuine about it, or you're just tuning out of the conversation. You're just shutting down, that channel with a blind wall of optimism. Just saying positive comments doesn't really construct anything of value in the conversation, and it doesn't help you kind of lead on from there. Because what can you say after that's so crazy? You gotta me, there's nothing much to say, and that brings you back to the same dead end. How do I continue this conversation? So what we do instead is variation. Let me give you an example. So let's say, at the start, the person says okay, I love chicken nuggets so much. They really have just this golden hue that gets me going each day. And your first response as someone who maybe you don't like chicken nuggets, maybe like something else. So you're like, oh, well, I love how you described it, like how it's your source of energy. And then the person goes I know, right? I just love chicken nuggets so much. I could buy a box of them each day, every single weekend. So what do you say from here? Wouldn't it be awkward to say another thing like, oh, I love weekends too. Those are great. No. Instead, what you do is you step away from giving affirmation. So you've already used the declarative, which is, I love it. I love the way that you describe it. Now you move on to an interrogative, which is a question. So follow up with the question wouldn't buying it every weekend be kind of expensive? How much are they? How much do they retail for? And when you ask about that, not only do you know how to get the conversation going from there, because they have to respond about the price and about why they feel that it's worth it and stuff like that, but you also create an opportunity for yourself to branch out into more topics. And you're able to say oh my gosh, I love how it's actually quite an affordable price maybe. Or maybe you could go down the pathway of, oh, okay, speaking of different types of set meals that I really like, I also like this. And in that way, you're both able to share something effortlessly about your favorite food, about your favorite sauce, or even about how you usually get good deals. Because we're kiasu here in Singapore, it's no secret. In that way, by asking questions, you open the door for more sort of conversational topics, and you're able to shift it maybe slightly to something that you can share about or something that you're more familiar with. And at the same time, it highlights how you're not just blindly agreeing with them on every opinion. It's about genuinely showing interest, and maybe what they like to do, or admiration for maybe they're the founder of a really cool brand and you're just excited to talk to them. them, but you're scared because you don't have technical expertise in that area. So instead, by asking questions, you also signify that, look, I don't know shit about this. Like, I really don't know. This is not something I'm familiar with, but I'm really willing to learn and hear from you. The second tip is basically just about variation. Make sure you tap on the power of questions to really build up that authenticity and that genuine interest in someone else's dream, someone else's contribution, and that will just really help you move the conversation along in an easier way as well. And so this is the third and final tip that I have, and it's really just about, do not be afraid to be vulnerable, open, and authentic to your conversational partner. So, this comes at a really good time because I just ended a call with someone who, just really inspired me so much. I haven't met her in real life. We were just excited about like building brands and storytelling as a way of connecting with, our audience and stuff like that. And I thought that I wouldn't have anything in common with her. But by the end of the call, we both walked away with the single sentence, like just echoing in our heads, I really connected with you. And the reason wasn't because we had shared like stuff about like sales or like stuff about businesses or about female entrepreneurship. No, it was just about childhood experiences. And it was about really just trusting the other person and sharing with them some experiences that you feel have shaped you into who you are today. And for us, that was especially present. Like, she talked about how, certain schooling experiences had really pushed her to become someone who champions these values. And for me, it was somewhat the same thing. In fact, it was a lot of the same thing. So while our visions may not be completely like aligned, the way that we got to, creating these visions happened to be through a similar process. And only by sharing that in a conversation, by being authentic, genuine, and unafraid to be just vulnerable and sharing a little bit of what we really thought, sharing a little bit of truth about ourselves, you can find pockets of familiarity in that. And I say that this is actually something that will help you sustain a lot of conversations and really have those amazing, enriching storytelling sessions, because it's not just it's not just about whether it's a topic on business, a topic on public speaking. It doesn't matter what the topic of the conversation is. Two people that are conversing are beyond like conversation partners. They're humans, and humans like to share. But not only that, humans are multidimensional. They have like fears, they have interests. We all have different sort of passions. We also all have different life experiences that have shaped us into who we are. And you can always find a way to just appreciate someone else's genuine core values from these human sharing stories and stuff like that. And that actually brings me right to the very end, but I want to end off with this quote that I always tell a lot of people that I coach for public speaking, and it really is this. It's a quote by my favorite public speaking coach, and what she says is that her goal as a public speaker, or even as someone who helps others speak in public, her goal is never to get them on stage and feel confident because of a well-written script. But her goal is rather to get people to feel confident about sharing their own life experiences, about sharing more about themselves, increasing their confidence overall. Because ultimately, having conversation is a way to opening up someone's mind and is a way to them opening up yours as well. I also want to thank everyone right now for all your support so far in this video series. I literally got so many DMs and so many sort of like comments that were really lovely, and it just really touched my heart because people genuinely appreciate language. And that's what I really love about doing this series, is that I'm learning lots more about language and how I've been using it over the years and how I can speak in a certain way and stuff like that. To me, that's very important to me because when I first came from America, my accent was really messed up, and I did get comments about my accent. I didn't dare to speak on stage in public. I didn't even dare to just, speak at all. I can't imagine even speaking to a camera or even doing anything on Instagram story. So after a while, this year is a year of breaking boundaries, That's not you, coronavirus. You cannot break the boundary. You shut up and stay inside. But basically, it's for us humans to break the boundaries and really just learn more about ourselves and, what we can give to other people. Yeah, so thank you so much for all of this. Thank you.